Welcome back to Galactic Knot Constellation, the show spotlighting founders building AI-powered applications using AI coding agents. Today, we're diving into how AI is shaking up hiring, transforming it from a credentials-first approach to a skills-first approach. With a global recruitment market worth over $870 billion that's crying out for innovation, Polynize is stepping up with a game-changing approach, literally. They've turned job assessments into realistic games, finding perfect fit candidates and helping companies slash hiring time by up to 80%. Joining us today is Shourov Bhattacharya, co-founder and CEO of Polynize. He's leading the charge in AI-driven innovation. Hello, Shourov. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nero. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being on the show, and it's really great to have you here. So let's frame the problem space a little, right? So as we were preparing for this conversation, Shourov, you shared this pretty crazy statistic with me. The average resume is glanced at for just 7 seconds, barely enough time to understand a candidate's true potential. This rush judgment often leads to vibe hiring, right? We've heard of vibe coding and all the buzz right now, and now it's becoming a thing in the hiring world as well, right? And this is where decisions are based more on superficial impressions than actual abilities. What's Polynize doing to improve this?
Yeah, that's a famous stat, and I actually think it's worse now. I think resumes aren't even being looked at by humans. And the whole problem here is there's no proof of performance. All you're doing is looking at what's been written on a piece of paper, increasingly by AI as well. So think about the way that a pilot trains to get into a plane. They go through a flight simulator. That's what we're doing. We're saying you can create simulations, highly accurate simulations of jobs, and candidates actually go through those simulations and are deeply assessed so that you can see exactly how they perform on the job before the interview. So that whole thing, we call that proof of performance. It changes everything.
It's amazing. Flight simulators for jobs. That's phenomenal. All right. What sparked the creation of Polynize? When did you realize traditional hiring was fundamentally broken?
But it began with me entering the job market. So I was a high performer. I had a lot of skills, but as soon as I entered the job market, I was just another resume in the pile. It was difficult to even get an interview. I didn't have a chance to stand out and show off my skills. And as I went forward and started working with students in accelerators and incubators in my career, I saw that again and again, that the top performers at the younger cohort, but then even later in career, can't prove their skills. The system doesn't allow it. So that's what led to the frustration that I felt and the research that then came into building Polynize.
So you mentioned research. So what was the kind of standout experience or piece of data that came out through that kind of made it very clear to you that this old resume-based hiring model just wasn't working anymore?
I mentioned that student accelerator model that I was working with for a long time, and I would really look at that top layer of, say, 15%. We call them the MVPs or the superstars, or the people that for any particular job, they're actually a 5X because they're so good at it and they're able to really move the needle on that job. And what I found is that almost every single one of those people was not coming through the standard ways of doing things. They were being mixed in with everyone else. So it's like you weren't finding quality even though it was there. And that's generally the problem we see, is that it's not access to people, it's access to quality within that pool. So it's a needle in the haystack problem.
I love that. I was actually just thinking about that example in my head, and you're like the magnet for the needle in the haystack problem, right? Because if you just troll through all the hay, you won't find it. But if you put a big magnet at the top, the needle's going to come out. And I think the same way your gamification is letting us do that. So that's pretty cool. So tell us, exactly how does Polynize leverage AI to deliver its user experience?
There's two major sides to it. First of all, generating these simulations on demand. So we can take a job description and launch the simulation for it in less than a minute because of AI. So you can create these very accurate contextual simulations of jobs on demand. And then once you've got them, the other side is to then publish that out and have people play through it and assess and benchmark their skills. And again, that's something that AI's been able to really empower for us that you can actually get that deep analysis, even if it's soft skills, even if it's things like communication, for example. AI can actually assess that effectively in such a way that it'll then help the humans to make better decisions later. So coaching and analysis on one side, and then generating the simulations themselves.
Wow. You've been in the industry for a while, obviously, and very technical. Why was this solution impossible or impractical 5 years ago? What's unique about today's AI capabilities that make Polynize effective now?
Yeah, so I often say that we've always traditionally grown up in technology with a trade-off between scale and, let's say, accuracy or customization or specificity, meaning that if I wanted to deploy something to millions of people, it needed to be the generic experience for everyone. Or if I wanted to create you a very custom thing, you'd have to pay for that. And I'd have to spend a lot of time and money to do that. AI has allowed us to break that trade-off. So we can have very customized experiences for millions of people because AI can understand context. It can actually create a simulation of your job in your niche on demand. So it's really broken this fundamental trade-off. And I think that's going to have some big implications across all of industry.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's something that we would talk about here at GitHub is context. Like context is power, and bringing that context to recruitment is super exciting. All right, we've spoken a lot. Let's jump into a demo. Show us that jaw-dropping moment when a simple job description instantly transforms into this kind of fully interactive, realistic simulation, and then take us through what a candidate sees, how they interact, and the powerful insights that the hiring team receives.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a job from our local job board here down here in Australia. It's a customer success manager job, sort of thing that you'll see on job boards all the time. So what I'm doing is cutting that and then pasting it into our platform. Now, at this first step, the platform can use AI in the back end and our fine-tuned models to instantly generate a simulation from this JD. Now, this process only takes about 30 seconds, and the output of it is this highly contextual set of scenarios, basically, which really, they really model the job. Let's have a quick look. Like there's building rapport with a client, a communication scenario, troubleshooting software issues, problem solving, a bit of research and identifying customer needs, strategic thinking. Like you can see these are really very realistic and precise. And the customer that we have can really get this to the point where it's exactly simulating their job. So at that point, they really have confidence to publish this out to a cohort of candidates. Those candidates come through and play through the simulation. And when they do that, they come out with these very deep skills analysis. So you can see here exactly who has gone through which scenario, how they've answered the questions in audio form, in text form, and coming soon in video form. So you can really review their performance within the job. It's almost like a flight simulator and the depth of the data that you get. But then the other beautiful thing is that's all ranked on a leaderboard. So ultimately you can look at that quality talent at the top of your leaderboard and actually spend the time to interview them. So you're getting people into interviews who've already been through the job. And there's this beautiful performance analysis report that's also provided to you. So you can sit down with someone already knowing so much about them, and they already know heaps about your job as well. So they'll probably come in already knowing your job, being excited about it. And it actually is really changing the interview as well. And so that's one of the next things we're looking at is bringing this simulation and performance analysis approach into the interviews and doing live coaching and so on as well. So yeah, this whole process is really positive and it's really simple, and all the heavy lifting is done by the tech, and you really don't have to do much work at all. Just turn up and meet great candidates.
Wow. That is a wonderful demonstration of your capability, and I'm really excited. For me personally, what you just showed there is really mind-blowing because I know how hard it is to get that job description just right and to be able to set up the right flow in the interview. So to be able to use something like this is hugely powerful. So thank you for doing that. All right, rapid fire round, Shourov. Give us the numbers that matter.
All right, first let's look at time, right? often elapsed times are around 3 months for hiring in enterprise. We get results within 14 days, max maybe 21. So people are hiring way faster with this approach. Second thing is the actual cost and time of screening. Imagine looking through 100 resumes and making 100 phone calls. So that is taken out by this process because you're allowing the tech, again, to do the heavy lifting. Candidates are going through and qualifying themselves through, and you can trust that engine to actually deliver you the best. So you can sit back and interview candidates without having to spend 100 or 150 hours of screening per job role. That's an 80 to 90% reduction. And then the third one, it's not so much a numerical stat, but it is important, and it's candidate experience. We know candidates hate the current process, but this is a positive experience. So we track that really closely. We always interview and ask people about what they loved about it, the agency they get, the fact that they can prove themselves, the gamification, it's all consciously designed. So candidate experience, this is probably the only one in the recruitment industry where candidates actually come on camera and say, I loved the experience of hiring.
Oh, I love that. Just as a manager that's recruiting in my day job, I know how hard it is, like when we make a decision to do a strategy, to get bums on seats, as we say, right? So to be able to cut that time down is hugely impactful. It means we can start executing straight away. And I know like when we have a lot of candidates applying, like how do we like streamline and make that experience a positive experience for candidates and for us as well, who have to go through the list? That's massive. I love it. I love those 3 points. All right. Complete this sentence for us, Shourov. Every time a user does blank, the model improves at blank, resulting in blank.
Every time a user plays a job simulation, the model improves at benchmarking and understanding performance, which means the whole system hires more accurately the next time.
Wow. So tell us about how this then creates a unique advantage and long-term impact for Polynize users.
The candidates themselves, first of all, they go through and they're exploring different jobs. Imagine being able to play 10 simulations in a week. You've actually done a little road test of what kind of job you like. But then every time you play, you're creating this very detailed profile about your skills. And it's not generic stuff like here's my IQ score or here's some sort of tick box test. No, this is me proving that I can do a job in that high profile company. And so that compounds, and it means that they're able to coach and train themselves, and others can also help them so they can rapidly improve their skills. So upskilling is part of it, self-training is part of it, self-actualization is part of it, and ultimately that means that you end up with a career that you love. So the Japanese have this word, ikigai, you may have heard it, which says you find something that you love, you find something you're good at, and find something that actually pays well too. And that's ultimately the vision behind Polynize for candidates.
I love the Japanese philosophy and I love innovative thinking. That's really nice. I know personally, like we run a few pilots with my team here at GitHub, and the feedback around the simulation experience has been really impressive. Personally, I love the simulations as a way of getting sharp before I have a critical presentation or a meeting, right? Think about it. If you're an elite athlete, you wouldn't just walk onto the field on game day, right? You'd spend some time sharpening your skills, whether it's catching balls or like doing some sprints or some things like that, right? And you're sharpening up your muscle memory just before the game. And so to me, Polynize is perfect for that, right? To be able to engage in those simulations and sharpen myself up so I can bring my best performance for that most critical conversation that I want to do. To me, like that's a really interesting use case outside of just the general recruitment. Like, how do I stay sharp and agile in a world where I have multiple modes of needing to operate? Cool. All right. Time to dive deeper. The show is not just about AI-powered apps. It's about building with AI too. So let's crack open the repo. It's Copilot time, baby. Shourov, recreate your last Copilot wow moment.
Okay, so this was only a couple of weeks ago, and this was really important. We knew we needed the step up in our capability. There was a key feature, which was the integration of audio gameplay. So that means people answering challenges and getting live coaching and analysis all via voice. Now, there are a number of technical issues in there that I hadn't been able to get to. So when I cracked open, as you said, with Copilot and sat down to look at this over a weekend, I didn't actually expect to be shipping it for a while, but I thought, let me at least look at this. But what I found was that Copilot was able to so rapidly solve and build for me in agent mode that I was able to move through all those hard problems in just 2 days. So actually, I think within only 3 or 4 days, I'd finished and tested and hardened this whole audio feature and shipped it that week. And that was huge for the company, right? Because we had so many customers asking for it. We had so many use cases that were waiting for this to come along. That feature actually translated into go-to-market movement for Polynize, which was the best part of it all as a CEO, actually.
Yeah, as a startup founder, I can imagine like you get lots of these customer requests, and sometimes you think some of these ideas are just brilliant, but you just can't take yourself out of running the business to have the time to go and build the feature. And as a technical co-founder or a technical founder, it must be so frustrating that you just don't have the cycles available. So that's huge. Like, what was the impact for you from being able to do that? How long would that feature have taken you to do if you hadn't been using Copilot?
Telling people we were going to ship it in Q2, which meant more like the end of Q2. So let's say at least another month, right? Maybe more. And that's how I'd set the expectation. So first of all, it was like a huge positive surprise to our customer base and partners that suddenly we'd ship this thing. They were like, oh, you beat my expectations. That's always a really nice thing for the market. And it showed innovation, it showed capability. Oh, we just shipped this. We talked about it just 2 weeks ago. Here it is. That's a great experience for a customer. And then, of course, just in terms of the actual impact of the feature itself, as I said, it just brought a whole segment of use cases online for us, which we thought we'd have to wait for a couple of months. And so the impact commercially was really significant where we are now.
Fantastic. I love it. Ideas driving business, driving dollars. Like that's at the heart of the startup world. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Time for our Copilot speed round. Quick answer, Shourov. 5 questions, answers in 5 words or less. Current
Okay.
AI model used.
OpenAI GPT 4o,
Estimate of daily productive boost.
300 to 400 lines of code shipped extra.
Wow. Copilot's unexpected standout feature.
Solving hard problems from communities input.
What's a feature request for Copilot?
Learn to build front end UX better.
All right. And 1 word vision for future development.
I want a co-founder. I want Copilot to be a co-founder.
I love it. Copilot co-founder. That's brilliant. That actually is a very wow. My mind is blown. I have 100 ideas off the back of that.
Let me explain. I want someone who understands not just how to functionally do things, but gets me, right? I have a
Yeah.
code style, I have weaknesses, and I have strengths. Like a great co-founder, I want that person who really understands me. Then I'll trust Copilot to just do everything like a co-founder. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, when you think about it, as you build up that relationship with Copilot, there's context around your relationship with it, right? And so it understands when Shourov says do X or Y, Shourov has a preference for doing X or Y in a certain way. And
Yeah.
then yeah, wow, like my mind is a buzz now. Like I have 100 ideas for the product team. I love that. That's probably one of the best words I've heard. So that's awesome. Cool. All right. Looking to the future, Sharad, like if you could wave a wand, what's the one thing that would make your development iteration 10 times easier?
Look, I'll go back to the front end stuff. The human machine interface has always been the hard problem of technical design. And that's where I think the next big wave of innovation can come. Really understanding psychology, user experience, the way we emotionally respond to things. If AI can help to build interfaces like that, would be a huge step up.
Cool. Love it. All right. Let's wrap up with 3 key insights from today's session. So first of all, Polynize significantly reduces hiring times and increases candidate satisfaction through AI-driven simulations. These are 2 very hard things to achieve in industry, so it's pretty exciting to see what you're all doing out there, and we wish you all the best with that success. Second of all, using Copilot, technical founders like Shourov can ship complex features faster, saving valuable time spent writing hundreds of lines of code daily. Love to hear that. That's exactly the vision of Copilot, is to help people ship code faster, right? That's at the heart and the DNA of it. And third of all, the future is about rapidly experimenting with innovative ideas. Copilot accelerates not just speed, but innovation itself. And again, that's at the heart of any true startup and at the heart of what, we're trying to achieve with GitHub Copilot. Really love to grab those insights from you today. So now for the audience at home, we want to hear from you. So comment below if you have a feature in mind that you'd love to build with Copilot. And now, Shourov, thank you for taking the time to share with us, not only about the amazing things you're all doing at Polynize through AI, but also through how you're able to do it faster. It's really been an insightful session for me, and I have co-founder etched in my mind now. That's, I'm going to give you credit for that if we manage to get that off the ground.
No, thank you, Nir. It's been a pleasure to be here. I love what the guys have been doing over in your team, and look forward to be working with you in the future.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.